to church. Come on. We're in week six of a series we've called Unrivaled. And this series really was birthed out of COVID. It was a series that as we started as a staff to just really, there was only a few things we could do. There was like 8 of us in this room filming services during the week. And the rest of the time, we were just praying. We were praying and we were meeting the needs of people outside of our church and doing what we could. And during that time, God really started to impress on the leadership here that we should do a series about the names and the nature of God. And I just want to read the verse that we've been using as our key text for this series. And it comes out of Isaiah chapter 52, verse 6. And it goes like this. But I, this is God speaking, will reveal my name to my people, and they will come to know its power. My name and its power. We believe that if you want to get to know God, you need to know the names of God. And in the Bible, there's a lot of names of God. It's just always translated either just God, but there's a lot of original language of the difference of the names of God. And that tells us the different nature of God. And this is why it's so important for you is that if you want to know someone, you need to know their name. It's just as simple as that. You can't go so far. You can only go so far with somebody just saying, hey, bud, hey, dude, hey, pal. I have this joke kind of going around. If I meet you, I'm sorry if you're a dude here, and a guy that I will know your name, but if I meet you and you're one of the Gospels, like Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, I'm just going to go for it next time. And I was just like, he's a Gospel. And I'll be like, Luke. He's like, no, I'm Mark. Whatever. I was close. But it's important that you know the name of somebody, because when you know the name of somebody, you can be able to get to know them. And this is really what this series is about, is understanding the name and the nature of God, because they go together. They go together. They're so huge and they're so important together. I think the very first thing we should do is just pray to start off today. Lord, we just thank you so much for your word. I thank you, it says in your Bible that your word is alive and it's active. And we just pray right now that your word comes alive in our hearts in Jesus' name. It's not my words, but it's your words. We give it to you in your name. Amen. Amen. I'm going to jump into a story that is probably one of the more famous, or if not the most famous story in the Bible, next to the resurrection of Jesus. And that is the story of David and Goliath. And some of you are like, oh man, Pastor, I've heard that story so many times. And I would encourage you just to kind of press in again today, because I believe God's got something unique for today, for this moment, even though it's a story we may have heard a few times over. And so to set the stage for you, to kind of roll out the red carpet on what this story looked like, we're going to head on over to 1 Samuel chapter 17. We got the verses on the screen, but if you want to follow along in your own Bible and you don't have a Bible, you can get a Bible on your phone by going to the YouVersion Bible app. You can follow along as well on there. But in 1 Samuel chapter 17, we have a story about 2 opposing armies coming to do an epic battle. We got the Israelite army, God's chosen people, have come to fight a battle. And Saul is the king of that army, and they're on one hill. And in the middle is a valley, the valley of Elah. And on the other side of that valley is another army called the Philistines. The Philistines were known throughout history to be opposing God's people, constantly in battle. And so we have these 2 opposing forces coming at it. And the opposing enemy, the Philistines, decided to say that we want to do a death match, a winner takes all type match, where they call out their superhero, their Goliath, of their giant of their army. Now, see, we've talked about a lot about this, and you probably have heard of David and Goliath, and you probably even heard of Goliath. But I just want to give you a context of who Goliath was, how big he really was. This is how my mind works. Like, I need to get into it to fully get the story of it. And so the Bible says that he was somewhere between 9 feet 6 inches, either 9 to 9.5 feet tall. Now, some of you are like, I don't know about that. And for the sake of time today, I can't get into the reasons or the understanding of why there was giants that large at that time, but you can go all the way back to the book of Genesis that gives some explanation for why there was giants in the land, why they were so huge. Now, Goliath was massive. He was so massive. This is how my brain works. I like movies. I love movies. If there's anything you know about me and you ask me to go to a movie, it will always probably be a yes. Just like, okay, let's go. Like, I like movies so much that I have a scene debit card, okay? That's just all you need to know. So, like, some of you are, like, saving up air miles. I don't even think those exist in my house. I just go to movies, just for free movies all day long. I love movies. So what I did was, I wanted to see how big really is Goliath compared to something I would watch in a movie. Now, the only other giant that I know that would be like terrifying if you saw him in full rage mode is the Hulk. The Hulk is like, my son's totally into Marvel stuff. He loves all of it. And so I go right with him. I think I love it more than he does. And so I looked it up. I nerded out for a second. And I wanted to see how big would rage mode Hulk be as he's full on green and he's freaking out. He would be, if he was in real person and a real, like right here, beast mode, he would be 8 feet, 3 inches. Goliath was bigger than the Hulk. This is insane. Goliath was so big that he even said that his armor for just his chest was 125 pounds. That's like wrapping some of you ladies around a dude, like on the chest. Like, that's how big he is. He was so big. The tip of his spear was 15 pounds, just the tip of his spear. I know Nathan could just like flex that, like no problem. But there's some of us that would have a hard time just picking up his spear. This guy was a beast. And so he came out and he taunted for 40 days, twice a day. He would taunt the army saying, send your best fighting men to come and to take me on in a battle. If you win, we'll be your servants. If you lose, you're our servants. And this is how it went for 40 days. And what happened was the Israelite army was so scared. They lived in fear. They just hid out in their camp, and they just didn't know what to do, and they were afraid of the Goliath in the land. See, this story really is the ultimate underdog story of all time. Arguably, you would say it's the number one underdog story. So much so that now when we talk about other underdog stories, we say it's like a David and Goliath story. We use this as a context for saying what kind of story it is. And I love underdog stories. Underdog stories are so much fun. You see it in real life, but you also see it in movies. And you see it throughout all kinds of movies like Die Hard, love it, good Christmas movie. You see it in Lord of the Rings. You see it in like Hunger Games. You see it in like Mighty Ducks. Come on, Flying V. I'm kicking it old school. You see it in like Kung Fu Panda and Karate Kids. And you see it ultimately, of course, in Rocky. Like we see underdog movies all the time. But you know what one of the best underdog stories is? It has to do with me. And it happened last year. And I did my very first fantasy football league ever. And I dominated. I'm just saying. Like, Lord brought the victory, okay? And Pastor Tay was in it. He knows I had the best season record. And at first, it was kind of funny. People thought it was funny that I was winning because if you know anything about me, I don't watch sports. I started watching football last year because I was so into it. My wife was like, who is this man on Sunday afternoons that I didn't marry? It was true. I was into it. I was so into it. I'm still into it. And I was loving fantasy football. I started to dominate. I was just going on a streak. And then in the office, we have a lot of sports fans in the office. And I wasn't one of them, so I couldn't, to be honest with you, when they talk about some players, I didn't know which sport team they were talking about. I didn't know if it was hockey or football. I had no idea. And but now I had something. And it kind of went for a while to the point where then people just stopped talking about fantasy football because they knew that I was winning. Yes, I was that underdog. I was so excited about it. And it's interesting. And one report said that 88.1% of people would root for the underdog. So you're here today, and most likely you're going to be rooting for the underdog. This is an underdog story that we're talking about, David and Goliath. David and Goliath. It's that ultimate one, but there's a verse that we kind of miss, that we glaze over. It doesn't get a lot of airtime in this story. And if you look back at probably times you've heard about this story, you've probably heard about the battle between David and Goliath, but you haven't heard this verse, and we're going to start right there today in 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 45. And it goes like this. Then David said to the Philistine, to Goliath, "You come to me with a sword, with a spear, and with a javelin. But I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." Whom you have defied. this is what I want to talk about today. We've been talking about names of God. We've been talking about Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Shalom last week. The Lord is our shepherd. Today, what I want to talk about is that Lord of hosts in that passage refers to and is translated Jehovah Saba. Jehovah Saba. And in English, that means the Lord our warrior. The Lord our warrior. So I got some fight language that I want to talk about today because the Lord our warrior wants to do some work. And I think this story has been overshadowed by other things, but this is the pinnacle of this story, is that the Lord our warrior was present. And so what I want to do is I want to rewind a bit, and I want to give you some context for this story because it's important that you understand there's a giant in the land. Now, a few hundred years earlier, the same land that the Israelites were a part of, that they were fighting in this battle for, was the promised land that God gave them. That promised land, when they went to go check it out and spy it out and take a look of it, it was filled with giants. Filled with giants. Now, years later, there's a giant that's come back. And I just kind of feel like some of us in this place, maybe wherever you've been today, you've come in here and you've been feeling like, man, I've been tracking good with God. Things have been going great. But man, this giant has come back that I feel like I conquered years ago. Something is coming back and taunting his face in me. And I feel like today God wants to slay a giant once and for all in your life. He wants you to walk away victorious. Some of you come in discouraged, defeated, and wore down. But I want you to leave encouraged, not by my words, but by Jesus' name. Because it's God, our warrior, who's going to fight for you. So for us to understand, we need to kind of do some rewinding in this passage to understand some of the things about David. See, the interesting thing was that there was a giant taunting, but then insert teenage heartthrob David into the story. It even says that David was great looking. Goliath himself admitted to that. Like, I don't know if he knows how to throw down, but that's not how you call someone out. Hey, you're great looking. That's what he did. And he tells him, and I thought he thought it was like, it was a way to kind of shut him up, but we understand that David would have been around 15 years old. He was taking care of sheep. He was a shepherd for his dad. He was the last born of 8. His 3 oldest brothers were in the war on the front lines right then, and his dad sends him to go deliver some lunch to his bros. This is where we are right here. And I think why it's so important is that we need to understand and we need to come to figure out, how did David have the courage and the faith to stand up to a Goliath like we just read and declare the name of the Lord over victory in that? We need to rewind the story a bit and understand some of the obstacles that David would have faced in the giants in front of him. Some of the things that postured him for the victory that he was going to receive. I believe there's some of us in this room that there's some obstacles that we face every day to be able to slay the giant that God's put in front of us. And I just want to encourage you with 4 kind of things on what that looks like. And before we do that, we're going to read this passage right here just a little bit earlier in verse 20 and 24. It says this: early in the morning, David left the flock in care of a shepherd, loaded up and set out as Jesse, his dad, had directed. He reached the camp as the army was going out to its battle positions, shouting the war cry. Israel and the Philistines were drawing up lines facing each other. David left things with the keeper of supplies, ran to the battle lines, and asked his brothers how they were. As he was talking with them, Goliath, the Philistine champion from Gath, I could just hear like a megaphone saying this, stepped out from his lines and shouted his usual defiance. And David heard it. David heard it. Verse 24, when the Israelites saw the man, Goliath, they all fled from him in great fear. See, one of the first obstacles that we have to posture ourselves for the victory of taking over the giants in our life, the giant of addiction, the giant of healing, the giant of depression, the giant of financial stress, the giants in your life. We all have giants in our life. But there's some obstacles to position ourselves to be there to receive the victory that God wants. The first one was what we see. What we see. See, the giant looks undefeatable. The giant looks like it's not possible to beat. I just think about this for a second. Like, they had no context for why there would be a 9.5-foot man in the middle of a field who was a champion. They had no context for that. No Google, no Wikipedia, no nothing. They had no idea. They just saw that, and it created fear in them. It created fear in them. See, the reality is that the army and Saul thought Goliath was too big to defeat. But David knew and believed that it was too big to dismiss. This is important. This is important. Some of you have been avoiding the giant in your life. Some of you have been putting the giant aside in your life. And I would actually say it's time to shift and take a look at that giant so you know where it is. But guess what? It's not because you need to only focus on the giant. It's because you're going to focus a little bit higher because there's a God that's bigger than Goliath. See, Saul didn't see that. Saul only saw Goliath bigger than God. Is your perspective that whatever you're walking through, the biggest circumstance in your life, or do you serve someone? Do you serve God who is bigger than the giant in your life? I believe we went through some prayer requests just a few minutes ago. Cancer, financial stress, other things that were going on. Is your God bigger than cancer? Is his name bigger than the giant that you're facing? This is real talk. Goliath looked bigger than God for Saul. See, if you focus your vision on the giant, you can miss the view of God. We need to take a look at the giant, but we need to make sure that we don't just only stare at the giant. We need to say, God, you are bigger. You are bigger than the giant in my life. You are bigger than that. See, the first obstacle is what we see. We saw that it created fear in the camp. The second thing is what we hear. What we hear. See, David heard it. David heard it. He knew the enemy's tactics. He knew the enemy's lies. He heard what Goliath was saying from the battle lines. I think and I believe that some of you, your giant's been speaking to you. Some of the things that you've been up against has been saying some stuff over your life, has been speaking to you, has been taunting you, has been speaking lies over you. You know what David did? David cross-referenced what Goliath said with what he knew about God. That's what he did. And that's how we could have confidence to move forward. I want to encourage you today that if there's a giant in your life that's got something on, like a Spotify playlist on repeat on your life, saying that you're not good enough, you're never going to get past it, you can never get over this, someone's going to find you out, you are a loser, you're a failure. If that's the language that the giant is saying over you, you need to know and you need to listen to God. Where God says, no, don't listen to that playlist. Listen to my playlist, where I can fight the battle for you, where I can bring you victorious, where you're a son and a daughter of me, where I have potential and hope and peace and joy and freedom for you. This is the language that we need to listen to. See, there's a famous phrase that says, sticks and stones may hurt my bones, but words shall never hurt me, which is just not true. It's just not true. Some dude in 1880s or whatever made that phrase up in a poem. But it's not true. Sticks and stones hurt, but words in the Bible say have the tongue has the power over life and death. So actually, if we take that to the extreme, words that are spoken from a giant in your life can actually cause death in you. But when you allow God to speak life into you, it can reframe what he's doing in you. Words shape who you are. It's so powerful. I actually just felt like, even just while I was saying that, there's someone who was just even thinking, man, I just said something really mean to someone I know. You need to deal with that. Because words shape things. In early development of children, when they don't know an object and they finally figured out the name of the object, that's actually now created and categorized in their mind when they put a name to it. When they actually name it, chair, that's now a chair. The same thing happens when we do that negatively in our mind. When we allow something to say failure, we categorize that and we put ourselves into that category. That's what giants do in your life. They speak the lies of the enemy. See, David knew this. He wasn't scared of what the giant could say or could do because he knew who his God was. See, what David did was that he flipped the script. And this giant was a name caller. See, giants, that's what they are. They're name callers. But he decided to flip the script and to call him what it was. See, he knew that he had to take the power away from this giant in the battle by calling him who he was. See, some of you, you just need to name the giant in your life. Some of you just haven't even named it. You need to just say, you know what? You are this. You are a lie. You are the enemy. You are against me. You are not for me. You need to name it. And so David, he goes into this. Verse 26. David asked the men standing near to him, what will be done for the man who kills the Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? Yeah, I'm going to go there. He said uncircumcised. What that really means is two things. One, he was a giant and David was short, so he got a view. Okay? So he knew. This is as simple as it is. Two, uncircumcised just meant this. It just meant that he wasn't under the covering of the covenant of God. That was there was a covering for people who were circumcised. They were a part of God's chosen people. David knew this. He knew that, hey, if he's uncircumcised, if he's not a part of that, then who is he attacking? Where does his power come from? He doesn't know me. He doesn't know where we're going. This is what's important, is that David got angry at Goliath for not attacking him. He got angry because he was attacking God who created him. You need to get angry at that giant that's in your life because he's not just coming and attacking you anymore. It might be your friend who's dealing with an addiction or dealing with something going on. You need to get angry at that giant in his life because it says, you know what? That's not who that person's created to be. You're not going against just that person. You're going against God. See, David didn't just take it personal. He took it spiritual. He took it to the next level, and he knew that the only way that he could get rid of a name-caller giant in his life was that he could call on the name of the Lord. I want to encourage you today that if you're struggling, you're pushing through something, you need to call on the name of the Lord. That's the only way we get through it. That's the only way that we fight through it. The third thing of the obstacle was what we were told. See, there's a difference between hearing and being told something. It's true in marriage. Come on, guys in the room. You know what I'm saying. And some of you just like don't, they're getting the elbow. There's a difference between when I hear my wife and when I'm told something from my wife. See, the difference is a conversation. The difference is intentionality. The difference is it's someone's close to me. You can hear a lot of things, but if you're listening to some things, that's when you're told something. And so for us, it's like my wife's like, do I got eye contact? Are you listening? Is the phone down? It's like all of those things check. Okay, it's like, okay, I'm ready now. I know this makes me sound really basic, okay? Some of you are like, wow. Anyways, this is true. It's just true. I'm sorry. This is the thing. For every giant slayer, there's always going to be a naysayer. For every giant slayer, there's going to be a naysayer in your life. Do you know that? For David, this was true. Even while he was down on the front lines, seeing what God could do against Goliath, his own brother, his oldest brother, Eliab, says this in verse 28. When Eliab, David's oldest brother, heard him speaking with the men, he burned with anger. He burned with anger at him and asked, why have you come down here? And with whom did you leave these few sheep in the wilderness? I know I know how conceited you are, how wicked your heart is. You came down only to watch the battle. When you're getting yourself ready to posture for victory in your life, sometimes there's people close to you that want to bring up the past in your life, that want to bring up who you were. Man, I remember the first year of EC, I was in the foyer at Mountain Park School, and someone came to me that hasn't seen me in years, and the last time they saw me was when I was in high school, which was different, and they said, man, you've changed a lot. Like, you're sort of a different person from high school. Well, yeah, I'm a pastor at a church now. Like, that's a lot different. And but there's always somebody that wants to come and remind you of who you were. When you're trying to find victory, they want to just taunt you, and they want to remind you of your past. You know that screw up that you had. I don't think you're ever going to get past it. Oh, I remember when you really messed those things up. I remember who you are. I remember what you did. And this is what his brother did. See, a naysayer does 4 things. We see this in his brother. See, He came to deliver food, but his brother was delivering disbelief to him. And naysayers do these things. We see this. Eliab did this. The first thing they do is they question your calling. Do you know that naysayers will question, why are you here? Why do you think you can do it? Well, guess what? It's not about me anyways. I got nothing to offer to the table other than an open heart for Jesus. Because it's not about me. People want to question your calling as a naysayer. The second thing is they want to diminish your influence. They want to diminish your influence. It's like, well, you only had a few little sheep. No, I don't have just a few sheep. That's my livelihood. That was my flock. That's who I care for. That's my training ground. That's my preparation. That's where God got me ready for today. Don't allow someone to diminish the influence in your life. I feel like there's some people in this room, that there's some people that have been naysayers around you. You need to be around some people that are life-giving. You need to get in a freedom group that's going to bring freedom into your life through community. I believe in it because I believe that you can't be around somebody that doesn't want to help believe the potential in your life. That's why EC exists. We exist because we want to be a life-giving church, bringing hope to our city, believing that your best days are ahead, not behind. We don't want to look in rearview mirrors. The third thing was that naysayers presume to know your heart. I know your heart. That's conceited. It's wicked. The problem that Eliab forgot about was that a chapter earlier, God revealed that he doesn't judge the outside. He judges the inside of the heart. So Eliab missed the memo that only God can know his heart. And the last one is naysayers downplay your potential. They always downplay. Well, I don't know. Maybe you could do that. Maybe not. I think someone else that's got a little more skills and a little more ability, a little bit taller, David, a little bit older, a little bit more jacked. I think they could probably take on Goliath. Maybe not you. See, he did this. He's saying, did you just come down here to watch the battle? Were you just going to be a voyeur of victory? But God's saying, no. David, I've called you to have victory in your life. I've called you to usher it in. The fourth thing that we find as an obstacle is what we hold. What we told and what we hold. See, you don't need someone else's armor. You need God's armor. We find this a little bit later after Saul, the king, grabs David and hears that he wants to go fight Goliath. And in verse 38, it says this: Saul dressed David in his own tunic, put a coat of armor on him, and a bronze helmet on his head. David fastened on his sword over the tunic and tried walking around because he was not used to them. I cannot go in these, he said, because I am not used to them. So he took them off. You don't need someone else's armor. You need God's armor. See, a lot of times we interpret the story by saying that he was trying to put on Saul's weapons and armor, but then he used his own weapons by getting a slingshot and stones. And we missed the picture. It wasn't about the slingshots and stones. It was about he was trying to operate in not his authority, in Saul's authority, or in God's authority. See, this is what we need. It's either God's name or you're using someone else's name. We don't want carbon copies of you. We don't want you to try to even compare yourself to other people. I know that some of you have been trying to fight the giants in your life by even in a room like this looking around and being like, man, I need Pastor Kyle's faith. Man, I need Pastor Tay's hope. Man, I need someone else's generosity. Man, I need someone else's abilities. I need someone else's talents. This is not what God wants you to do. He's given it to you, the full armor for you to be victorious. He doesn't want you to compare. He doesn't want you to worry about looking elsewhere. You know, Ephesians 6 really sums this up so well. It says, finally, be strong in the Lord in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take a stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood. It's not personality. It's not personal. But it's against rulers, against authorities, against powers of this dark world, and against spiritual forces of evil in heavenly places. See, David knew whose battle this was. He knew that it wasn't his battle. He knew that he was coming in. He was just there to deliver some lunch. He was just showing up. And he knew that he needed to step up to allow God to bring victory into there through his name. See, this is the thing. We framed this story as an underdog story. And we've said it's only just an underdog story. But I would actually say to you, it's ultimately an under God story. Because when you submit yourself under God's name, anything can change. This isn't just an underdog story. This is about being under God's name in your life. The Lord, our warrior, wants to fight your battle. He wants to do it. He doesn't want you to get sidelined and distracted in the process. So let's go back to that first verse that I read. 45, it says this. This is David, right before he's going to fight Goliath, throws down the most epic mic drop speech in a battle line. He says, David said to the Philistine, to Goliath, you come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day, the Lord will deliver you into my hand. This day, the Lord. Do you believe it today? I have faith that this day, today, is the day that you're going to have deliverance in your life. Today is the day that you're going to walk out and you're going to feel things change. Today is the day that the weight is going to be removed. Today is the day that the diagnosis is going to be reversed. Today is the day. This day, the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I will strike you down and cut off your head. Come on. This very day, I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals. Come on. This is no children's story. And the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. All those gathered here, every one of us gathered here, will know that this is not by sword. No. It's not by David's strength. It's not by spear. It's not by my abilities. But it is that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord, and he will give you all into our hands. See, David realized that God's name was enough. God's name is enough. I just want to encourage you today. Be encouraged that you don't need to do anymore. You don't need to try anymore. You just need to submit to the name of God, the God of our warrior. And I believe that when we get Jehovah Sabbath in our lives, the warrior in our lives, there's a warrior that rises up inside us saying that I'm not going to sit down anymore. I'm not going to hold back anymore. I'm going to believe for freedom in my friends, in my life, in my family, for the hope that God has. There's a warrior rising up. This was David. He knew the God he served. The X factor came in the hope of the name and the nature of God. See, when a giant stands in defense of God in your life, the battle is God's for the winning. Do you understand that giants are trying to defy God, what God says over your life? And we can believe today that he wants to bring freedom and victory into your life. See, the warrior of David rose up. David got angry when the giant defied the Lord Almighty. I'm angry, you know? I don't know if I can say that, but I'm going to say it. I'm angry. I'm not angry at people. I'm angry at what the enemy has done in people's lives. I'm so angry. I get angry about it. When I see someone who's walking through addiction and they have a crazy week, I get angry not at that person, not at the choices. I get angry at the enemy who's trying to bring addiction back into their life. I say, no more. That enemy should be gone. This is the promised land for them. I get angry when I see things rise up in my own life and say, no more. No, I know the God I serve. You are the warrior. You go before me. So get out of here, giant. Get your lies and leave. This is why we're part of a church, because sometimes you just need people to get angry with over the right things. See, what happens when we invite the Lord, our warrior, into battle? First of all, he gives us the faith that we can have confidence in the fight. Today, I just believe some of you just need a faith injection. You need to walk out here believing, you know what? You got this. You got it. You know? You got it. You are not defined by the things that have been said over you. You got it. The other thing is that he fights for us on our behalf. God is here to fight for you. We serve a God that isn't passive, that isn't waiting by. He is active in the battle. He is fighting for you, believing with you, standing with you. This is the God I serve. This is the God, our warrior. And the third thing is, our victory is a testimony for others. It said, the whole world will know. See, I'm believing right now that you're gonna see a giant fall and slayed in Jesus' name, but it's gonna be a testimony for your family. Even earlier this morning, I was just feeling like there's family revival coming in our church, where some people have been praying for their kids, been praying. Maybe you're here because of the prayers of one of your parents. Maybe you come because one of your parents asked you to come again to church, and you're like, I don't know, maybe I'll do it. But I believe it's because there's revival coming to your family. There's a giant being slayed in your family. And I believe that right now, that as you see it, it's a testimony for other families in our city, in our province, in our communities, in our workplaces, where people are going to say, whoa, that giant was slayed over there. That thing was removed out of their life. Maybe that can happen with me when I submit myself to the name of Jesus. So I want to end with this. Don't let what you see scare you. Don't. Get a better view, a bigger view of God. Don't listen to the lies of the enemy. Don't allow the giant to speak over you those words of death. Cut them off. Say, no more will I hear the lies. I know who I am. I know who God's called me to be. I know the potential that he has for me. Don't listen to the disbelief beside someone that's close to you. Don't allow people to get close to you, naysayers, to say that you can't move forward in your destiny. Get in the community. Be a part of somewhere that's life-giving. And don't go in someone else's authority. Go in the authority of God, our warrior. Would you just bow your heads with me? Close your eyes. I just want to take just a minute here just to pray over. There's some of you in this place that you haven't made a decision to follow Jesus. This might be the first time you've been in church. This might be a time that you've come before, but you just feel like you haven't submitted fully to the name and nature of Jesus. Say, God, I need you to rule over my life. You might be saying, as I was even speaking, that, man, you're talking about one giant. I got multiple giants. I don't know how God can do it. There's nothing that he's afraid of. There's nothing too big for him. I believe that what we're going to do is we're going to give you an opportunity to respond to Jesus today, to respond to the name above all names, the name above everything, where you can submit your life to him and you can ask for forgiveness for the things that you've done. And in that part, those things are going to change. There's going to be giants that fall and things that come down in your life. And so what we're going to do here is we're just going to give an opportunity. I'm going to count to 3. And if you want to do this, whether you're online, you can do it by letting them know in the chat window. If you're in person here, you're going to raise your hand and on 3. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a moment where all of us together as a family is going to pray for you for this new life that you start with Jesus. So 1, this is your opportunity to say, God, I don't want to hold on to the giants anymore, the giant of sin in my life. I want to let it go. I want to let it go. I want you to be a part of my life. 2, this is the day. Today's the day. Just like David said, this is the day that you will be delivered. 3, if that's you, would you just raise your hand? We'd love just to see it. All eyes are closed. This is a private decision. I see a hand in the back there. If there's any other hands, I see another hand in the back just raised. You can just raise your hand. I'm just going to give it one more second. I just feel like there's maybe another hand. As you're just raising the hands, yeah, I see that hand. What we're going to do, EC families, we're just going to take a moment. We're going to pray for each person who's made that decision, the courage that they said to step out, that they need God in their life. And so what I'd love for you to do is just to repeat this together with me. Jesus, we thank you for your sacrifice. And we pray for forgiveness. In your name, we want new life. We want freedom that you can give. In Jesus' name, amen.